Hey team, Yasin here, and in this training, we're going to be going over the 6W question of why for the pillar of health of nutrition. Now, if you recall, what we are doing right now is we are continuing our theme of the science of transformation and exploring the 6Ws for each of the 4 pillars of health, right? So right now we are on nutrition, then we are going to go over to movement, then we are going to go over to sleep, and then finally we are going to explore the 6Ws inside the last pillar of health, which is recharge, okay? And so in this specific training, we're going to go ahead and look into the 6W question of why specifically for nutrition. Okay, now I want to go ahead and remind you, you are doing phenomenal. All you want to do is you just want to make sure that you keep on showing up to this classroom, okay? Before you know it, you are going to have your certification in remote wellness. And I want you to always remember that you may not be ready right now, but through the process, you will become ready, okay? So this is the process. This is what is going to allow you to become ready. And this is what's going to allow you to become and transform into someone who can effortlessly provide life-changing value to others within the domain of health. So that way others are willing to pay you $1,200, $2,400, $3,600 in order to work with you, okay? And all of that is going to lead to what? All of that is going to lead to complete financial freedom for you and your family. It's going to lead to 6+ figures income online remotely. It's going to allow you to work on your own schedule while transforming the lives of others, okay? So it literally does not get any better than that. And so you want to stick with this. You want to keep on showing up to the classroom. I promise you, you can do this. You will do this. I believe in you. I know you can do this. We as an entire team, as coaches, as support staff here at RWA believe in you. You got this, and we're going to be here for you every step of the way. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the training, and let's talk about the why of nutrition, and specifically why nutrition is important for you. So what I want to do inside of this training is really hit this question of why nutrition is important from multiple angles. And the very first angle I want to go ahead and hit this question on is specifically about why nutrition is going to be important for you, especially if you are looking to make 6+ figures income online, okay? Because here is the bottom line. Your health and your nutrition is the key to you making 6+ figures income online. Now, some of you, hopefully this is not you, but some students, not you, but other students, okay, say, but Coach Yasin, I don't care about my health. I just need to know how to make the money. Just show me how to make the money. Like, let's just get to the tactics. Unfortunately, those students need to change their mindset, as I've gone ahead and hit over and over and over and over again inside of these trainings, is that it's not about the money. It's actually about understanding the foundations and becoming a person of value that can provide value and then maximize on the skill set of making money, okay? And you're going to learn more about this as you go along with this, okay? So I urge those who say, hey, teach me about making the money, right? I urge them to say, hey, slow down for a second and hear me out for a second, okay? Because I want you to realize that people make less money when they eat poorly. I'm going to say that again. People make less money when they eat poorly, okay? There's a lot of studies that go ahead and prove this, is that when you are on a less healthy diet and nutrition plan for your body, you are 66% more likely to report having a loss in productivity as opposed to those who eat healthier, okay? And so literally there are business losses that are tied to poor nutrition, okay? And so this is going to apply for those of you, especially if you're learning to be able to make money online for the first time. You're going to be truthfully overwhelmed with this process. Just like anything else you learn for the first time, it is going to be overwhelming, okay? And so the loss of productivity that you have, that is then compounded by you eating poorly and having poor nutrition, can literally make or break your new income and career goals or your business goals. Okay. So literally, if you're already overwhelmed by the process of making an income online, which I'm telling you right now, you will 100% be, okay, because it's not going to be an easy process. It's going to be simple, but it's not going to be easy, okay? Then on top of that, if your body is in fight or flight and is literally in survival mode because of the fact that you have poor nutrition, because you're not allowing your health to actually allow you to live up to your full potential, so that way you can focus on business, so that way you can focus on income and career, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually be able to overcome that, because you have now compounded your lack of focus, okay? And so if you are too busy nursing a headache or counting down the number of hours until you can take a nap or you can go to sleep, then I'm telling you right now that you can kiss goodbye any progress that you're going to make in making money, okay? And so you will make less money when you do not take care of your health. I promise you that, okay? And so making money is hard enough without the additional self-sabotage that happens as a result of a poor diet. And so when you instead focus on high quality nutrition, you're not only going to find extra energy, but you're also going to find clarity of mind. And you're also going to find additional brain power that you can utilize in order to allocate towards this overwhelming process of learning a completely new skill set and learning a completely new income stream, okay? And so this not only applies to you, but it also applies to your students. And when you can communicate this to your students, that they are less effective at their work, right? Regardless of if they are business owners or not, whatever their work happens to be, if you communicate that to them, that when they have poor health, they are going to be less effective at their work, they're going to have that aha moment, okay? And work could even literally just being able to show up as your best self, as a mom, as a dad, as a brother, as a family member, as a friend, right? Whatever it might be, you will show up better when you take care of yourself, okay? And so nutrition affects performance in all areas of life, period. And so this is the first reason why nutrition is so important, okay? The second reason that nutrition is so important, and the second angle that I want to go ahead and hit this on, because there's literally an infinite number of angles that I can go ahead and emphasize to you that nutrition is important. I've only gone ahead and selected these two, but there's literally so many that I'm sure you can even come up with. The second one that I want to go ahead and hit is why nutrition is important for mental health and transformation, okay? Because too many people today are struggling with depression, anxiety, sadness, mood issues, right? And the truth is that nutrition is the key that is going to allow you to be able to not only adjust your mood and your overall mental health, but also the mood and the mental health of your students as well, okay? And so how does nutrition affect mental health? It's been proven that those who have better nutrition have fewer mood fluctuations and overall have a happier outlook and improved ability to focus. Now, keep in mind, we are only talking about nutrition here. Just wait until we talk about why movement is important. Just wait until we talk about why sleep is important. Just wait until we talk about why recharging is important. You are going to have a massive toolbox that is going to allow you to be able to transform the lives of yourself, of your students, of your family members. It's literally an amazing transformational experience. And so again, this applies to you and your students, okay? Now, the next thing I want to go ahead and touch base on is why diets don't work. So I'm really just hitting different why questions when it comes specifically to the topic of nutrition, because underneath the topic of why, underneath the 6W of why for nutrition, there's a lot of different whys that we could answer. And that's why I just want to go ahead and hit some of these different angles, okay? Now, why do diets don't work? The research is very, very, very clear on this, is that diets simply do not work. There are literally hundreds and hundreds and thousands of diets, but they don't work. In fact, the research indicates that 95% of those who diet and lose the weight will gain the weight back, and even more than the amount that they lost within a year of stopping the diet. Okay, so diets literally have a 95% failure rate. Now, obviously, a big portion of that is going to be because of the fact that people don't understand how to become, they're trying to tackle the wrong things. All the things that you are going to learn inside of this module, as well as what you have already learned, is already going to start to make a substantial dent in that 95%, okay? But the truth is we want to dive a little bit deeper because this is very, very, very sad, right? And not only that, but all of those people who end up quitting from their diet, they feel terrible and more guilty about themselves than before they started. Now, why is that the case? The reason why this is the case is because if you look at our bodies were designed to produce hormones that make us eat and gain weight whenever we have the chance to, okay? And then on top of that, these hormones and how our bodies were designed is they were designed not to lose the weight, because this is exactly how we survived in the past, okay? Because our bodies were designed to always in preparation for famine times, okay? And so when there is a lot of food, what our bodies do is say, hey, you know what? It's time to feast because we have no idea if there's going to be food tomorrow. And so for those who have unhealthy weight, who are overweight, if you look at it from the perspective of our brains and our limbic selves, our bodies are actually saying, hey, you're doing phenomenal. You're ready for that famine. You got 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 pounds of fat on you. Like, man, that famine ain't got nothing on us, right? And so we were not designed for a time when there was unlimited food like today. We were designed for a time in which there were long periods of time where there was food scarcity, okay? And so never in all of human history has there ever been a time where there has been this much overabundance of food. In fact, this is the first time in human history where more people are dying from eating too much rather than eating too little. And so on top of that, today in most parts of the world, I want you to think about this. In most parts of the world, sugar is more dangerous than gunpowder. Think about that for a second. Sugar is more dangerous than gunpowder in most of the world, okay? Your chances of dying today and dying from diabetes are actually much higher than your chances of dying from war or crime or anything like that. And so we are literally at a precipice in human history where all of what we are used to has taken a complete 180-degree flip from what all of our ancestors for 99.9% of human history have been used to, okay? And so as you will learn, as we explore the rest of the 6 W's of nutrition, is that if society and the rest of the world took a more simpler approach to understanding nutrition holistically, the same exact way that you are learning inside of this program, then there would be no issues like the ones that we are talking about. Because here's the thing, the way that you are learning health and the way that you are learning nutrition inside of this program here at the Remote Wellness Academy is a completely radically new way to look at health and nutrition. And on top of that, we've already tested and proven this approach with thousands of students across multiple different organizations over the last 10 years, okay? And so what we are doing, and the reason why we are so successful, is because we are taking into account the fact that the world has changed. And so instead of fighting that fact, what we have done is we've created a completely new way to think about how health works. And because of that, what it does is it creates insane transformations in people's lives because it works with their life rather than against it. It takes into account the fact that there is an unlimited amount of food for such a large percentage of the human population. And so when you take that fact into account and you start to reorganize the transformation process by realizing that fact, then what you're able to do is you're able to create a transformation process that has such high success rates in the way that you're learning it, okay? And so the question that you might ask is, okay, so if this approach of dieting, the normal dieting approach, right, if it doesn't work, then what does, right? What should we do now, right? And this is what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and introduce you to some of the core principles of this new paradigm of health. And this is what we go ahead and call the 8 switches of the new nutrition paradigm. And the reason we call these the 8 switches of the new nutrition paradigm is because it really is a new mindset on how to really look at nutrition. And what I want you to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over these 8 switches, right? Mental switches, mindset shifts really quickly inside of this training. And as we go through this, I want you to really jot down your thoughts and any notes. And in the engagement question, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, hey, I would love to get your feedback. Which of these switches did you agree with? Which ones didn't you agree with, right? Like, give us some feedback because I'm interested to get your idea so that way we can go ahead and make sure that you properly comprehend what it is that we're talking about with these 8 switches, okay? So let's go ahead and dive into what are the 8 switches of the new nutrition and health paradigm, okay? So number 1 says that there are an unlimited number of diets. There are as many diets as there are people on the planet. No 2 people are the same. And some components of a diet that might work for you may not work for me, right? And so the right diet is the one that factors in all of the variables and all of the factors for your unique body, okay? That is the first switch that is different than what most people preach when it comes to dieting. The second switch that we're going to go ahead and talk about here is that health looks different for everyone. What's healthy for one person might not actually be healthy for you, right? Someone might have stomach issues with gluten and dairy, and someone else might be 100% fine. And so if the person with stomach issues decided to eat like the other person, they'd be a complete mess, right? And so 1 and 2 are similar, but there's a slight nuance difference there, and that's why there are 2 different switches, okay? The third switch on here is body equals laboratory. And so what it says is that your body is the most powerful, least expensive, and best health experimentation lab in existence, okay? And at the end of the day, what works for your body is the ultimate truth. It's more than any book or more than any authority that exists out there, okay? And so you have the most sophisticated laboratory that is there for you 24/7. And when we accept this, that allows us to then become curious about our bodies instead of being judgmental about it. We can then start to be curious and test things inside of the laboratory, and that really frees us to then be able to figure out what is best for us in our own health, okay? And so there are no right or wrongs or moral judgments. All we are doing is we are just observing like a scientist would and ask ourselves, what's happening? What's working? What's not working? That is the third switch that I want to go ahead and open your mind to. The fourth switch that I want to go ahead and talk to you about is about diet dogma and how it sucks, okay? What is dogma? You might not be familiar with this term called dogma. And what dogma is it's really a belief that is supposed to be accepted without being questioned or doubted, okay? And so diets are not useful as dogma, but they are useful as references, okay? So too many times, especially if you are somebody who has an experience with dieting or one of your students is someone that has an experience with dieting, they say, that diet, this diet said that I should do X, and if I don't do it and I'm not following the rules of this diet, then I am wrong and I feel bad about it and I'm falling short. And so the question that I want to urge you to instead ask is, hey, am I developing flexibility in my life or am I living rigidly? Okay, because if you're living by dogma, then you're really unable to change or adapt when things in your life start to change and adapt, okay? And so if you're someone who has been on a lot of diets or if you have followed a lot of rules around food, then you probably have a lot of shoulds and shouldn'ts when it comes to food, okay? And so that means that you might end up in a cycle of self-punishment, self-abuse, and self-judgment, when in reality, you don't need any of that. You can let go of all of that and really allow yourself to experiment and really allow yourself to create the rules, because at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong because everybody's body is unique. So you see how all of these different switches kind of work together, right? And so the solution then becomes switching from being externally referenced, right? What is other people saying about what I should do? What is the diet saying about what I should do? What are the authorities and the experts saying about what I should do? And instead becoming internally referenced, okay? And so that way the confirmation isn't coming from outside, but the confirmation is coming from inside, okay? And so I always joke around and I always say that if you have a lot of shoulds, hey, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this, you got to be careful because you might should all over yourself. And so this is very important. Whenever you have the word should, it implies some sort of expectation that is coming from an external source, okay? So that is the fourth switch as we transition from what diets don't work and how we transition it to making nutrition work for us. The fifth one on here is that the perfect diet is going to change as you change. And so your way of eating that's working for you is going to change as you change, right? And that's the thing. You can't be rigid about diets because you yourself are constantly going to be growing and evolving, right? As a woman, if you're pregnant versus if you're recovering from having a baby versus being active, right? The diet is going to look different in all of those circumstances. And so the only thing that is constant in life is change, right? We talked a lot about this when we talked about the Becoming Journal and all of Module 2. All of that is what we are applying now to understanding to nutrition and understanding that if we are living by dogma and if we are living by all of these shoulds, then when our life changes, we're still holding on to all of these shoulds and all of these rules and all of these dogmas that no longer serve us. And these beliefs need to be let go of so that way we can find the new perfect diet for the new phase of our life that is going to best serve us. That is switch number 5 when it comes to the new paradigm of nutrition, okay? Let's go ahead and evaluate and look at switch number 6. And switch number 6 says that your food relationship is more important than the actual food that you eat, okay? Your relationship with food and your body impacts your health more powerfully than the actual food that you eat, okay? I want you to think about this. Your relationship with your body is one of the longest relationships you are going to have in your entire lifetime. I know maybe you've never thought about it that way, but when you start to think about it in that perspective, you start to realize, we think about relationships with maybe our parents, our siblings, our friends, our family, but what about the relationship with yourself, right? What is the relationship that you have with your body, okay? And so what is it that you believe about your body, right? What beliefs are you carrying about your body, right? And so remember what we spoke about in module number 2, our beliefs create our experience and our experience confirms our belief. And so if you believe that you are fat, if you believe that food is X, then that is going to impact your experience of your body and of food, okay? And so this not only applies to health, but it applies to all of life. And so this is exactly what we're going to be discussing when we talk about the nutrition who later inside of this module. So that is the 6th switch when it comes to the different paradigm for nutrition. Let's go ahead and turn our attention now to the 7th switch, and that is that every body symptom has a positive intention. What do we mean by this, okay? An explanation of this is every symptom, every craving or behavior around food has a positive intention, meaning that our bodies actually have that symptom or that craving or that behavior because it actually wants the best for us, okay? And then on top of that, that symptom, that craving, that behavior is actually a part of a bigger problem. So what that means is that the symptoms, the cravings, or the behaviors, those are not the problem, right? What they are is that they're actually just the best solution that you have come up with so far in your journey of life. And so just to give you an example of this, right? If we look at binge eating, for example, right? Instead of shaming or criticizing or judging my binge eating, right? Instead, I can ask, if I understand with this paradigm shift that every single symptom, craving, or behavior actually has a positive intention, then I've been carrying this binge eating around like it's this negative black hole, but in reality, I can ask myself the question, how has this binge eating had a positive intention for me, and why did I develop it as something that was supposed to be the best for me, right? Maybe my binge eating helped me get through a very difficult part of my life. And so as a result, it wasn't the binge eating that was the problem. It was just a symptom of the actual problem. Do you see when we start to make this mindset shift around the symptoms, the cravings, or the behaviors that we have, it allows us to free ourselves from the negativity and the judgment around it and start to see it, it's the best thing that has served me thus far. Why is that the case? And then I can start to reverse engineer to figure out what the actual problem is, right? Same thing with the sweet tooth, right? The sweet tooth isn't what's actually the problem. It's just the symptom, the craving, or the behavior that our bodies have learned in order to be able to come to a solution for something of a bigger problem, for something of a bigger imbalance, right? And so remember how we talked about Stockholm Syndrome in module number 2, how we literally sabotage ourselves and our brains literally only want good for us, right? That's what we're talking about here. And so instead of shaming and criticizing and judging, when we assume that your body is actually doing this to protect us, when it's doing it because of a positive intention, because it wants the best for us, then we can start to not beat ourselves up and we can just actually ask ourselves, why is this the case? And what is the actual real problem, okay? And so a lot of the things that you've already kind of learned from the psychology of transformation, all we're doing in this paradigm shift is really just applying it to the topic of nutrition. So that's why I don't even have to go very deep in it, because you already have those foundations, okay? So that is the 7th switch. And then finally, the last switch on here is really starting to understand that nourishment is actually greater than just food, right? It's much, much more than just food. And we talked about this briefly in previous trainings as well, where it's all about inputs equal outputs, right? And then you want to kind of think about, what are all of the inputs that I am taking in from the world all day long, right? When I look at my environment, when I look at my relationships, when I look at the conversations I'm having, when I look at the thoughts that I'm having, when I look at the social media that I'm consuming, when I look at the entertainment that I'm consuming, when I look at the sunshine, the fresh air, the movement of my body, the sleep, the sensuality, the connection to something greater, right? All of the inputs. Nourishment is more than just the physical food that we put into our mouths. Nourishment is much more than that, okay? And so all of these are nutrients that nourish our well-being, okay? And so this is the 8th and last switch. When you make this mentally, you understand nutrition from a different perspective, and you start to be able to understand, this dry outlook, this black and white outlook of diets, it makes sense why they don't work, is because most people are trying to attack them from the wrong angle. And this is why we're so successful here at Remote Wellness Academy. And this is why you are learning this approach for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your students, so that way you can ultimately be successful with this as well. And so those are the 8 switches when it comes to the new nutrition paradigm. And to really close out this training, I just have an engagement question for you. We're keeping it lighter inside of this training. And this engagement question is, I would love to be able to understand, hey, what are your thoughts on the why of nutrition, right? What aha moments and big takeaways did you have from this training? And which of the switches of nutrition resonated with you, right? Which ones resonated the least, right? Which ones did you agree with? Which ones did you struggle with? Which ones did you disagree with? You don't have to agree with all of those mindset shifts. I just want to get your feedback and hear from you to get what it is that you received from this training. So just remember, this is your opportunity to engage. We and the other students love to hear from you, and we do read all of your comments. I cannot wait to read your thoughts on this training. With that being said, I will catch you on the next one.